Hey everybody, hope that this finds you well, and I hope that you enjoyed your section 1 of Philosophy 103. I know that it was a bit tough to kind of sift through. I know that it was a bit tough to kind of find our footing a little bit, just kind of given the nature of the course delivery. But I hope that section 2 goes much more smooth. It's my aim to help it go much more smooth. So a couple of things. First, hopefully you were able to submit your first reflection piece at some point last week. And second, hopefully you were able to complete the quiz at the end of section 1 sometime last week. If you weren't able to submit either your reflection piece or your quiz, please reach out to me via Canvas and we can kind of coordinate on where and how to kind of make that up. So again, hopefully we're all squared away on that front, and we can kind of move into section 2. So again, section 1, one of the main aims was that we found kind of our footing in the various branches of philosophy with metaphysics, epistemology, logic, axiology. Looked at the differences between subjective and objective evaluations and how that applies to ethics and morality, right? And how we think about what is right, wrong, good, and bad. And then we turned our focus to Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, right? And thinking about what Socrates tries to do and encouraging us to live an examined life, right? And that very famous quote, the unexamined life is not worth living. Also looked at kind of, what it means to know thyself and to always be challenging our various assumptions. With Plato, right, we get reference on not only the allegory of the cave of finding the truth, finding enlightenment, but we also get a focus on looking at how to live in this world as a mere reflection of a more perfect world somewhere out there, right, with that theory of the forms. And so for us to know how this world exists, is that it must be participating in a more perfect, enduring realm somewhere out there, according to Plato. And then lastly, we looked at Aristotle, right? And Aristotle focusing on how to live well and to do well. And ultimately, that we all desire in some capacity to be happy, right? And to achieve happiness. And for Aristotle, the same thing, to be happy is to live well and to do well. And Aristotle has a very concrete, very specific way that we go about that, right? We must live well and do well by acting in accordance to our rational nature, right? Because Aristotle thinks that we are fundamentally rational creatures. That's what sets us apart from all other creatures, all other animals, is that our ability to be rational. And then from using our ability to reason, we should act in such a way that, again, hits these marks of living well and doing well. And that way that we ought to live would be in accordance to being virtuous, right? And then Aristotle gives us a very specific way on how to live virtuously, and that's by following the doctrine of the mean. So hopefully all of that resonates. Hopefully all of that kind of makes sense, or at least sounds familiar, because it was my hope that those were some of the main takeaways from section 1. As we move on to section 2 this week, or kind of the next couple of weeks, we're going to look at 5 different philosophers: David Hume, Immanuel Kant, John Stuart Mill, Martin Luther King, and John Rawls. Okay? And, excuse me real quick. Sorry about that. There was a trumpet being played outside, and although trumpets are nice, it was a little distracting. So we'll look at 5 philosophers over the next couple of weeks. And how I'm going to lay this out is a little bit different than section 1. And so I compiled a packet, probably like the one you received early on for section 1. I compiled another packet like that for the distance education students in Pocatello. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the packet all together because that contains all the material, and I'll kind of let you all kind of work through that as you work through that, kind of at your own pace. But below the packet, okay, is going to be videos, and those will be in succession. So what you'll do is you'll kind of have this packet, you'll pull it up, access it on Canvas, right? And let's say you'll go find the lecture notes for Kant, or it says Kant lecture. Okay? And essentially, in Kant's lecture, once you get there, you can kind of pull up the video and hopefully kind of have on your screen the lecture notes on one side and the video or videos on the other side and kind of follow along that way, right? This saves me a little bit of time, a little bit of effort as it relates to not necessarily having to have everything laid out in Canvas. So I'm just going to kind of, again, like I said, upload this big PDF into Canvas, and you can kind of, again, work through it in ways that make sense and in ways that reference your time frame. And then you'll see, again, corresponding video lectures underneath. So if you see, when we get to Martin Luther King and his letter from a Birmingham jail, like you'll see that, you'll see that here, kind of like, page 36 in your packet. And so when you get there, as it relates to kind of working through the material, pull up the various Martin Luther King lectures that I have as it relates to his letter from a Birmingham jail. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that kind of follows along, and hopefully kind of the substance of the materials, the substance of the discussions all work well and work pretty seamlessly. So as always, don't hesitate to reach out. If you have any issues or have any questions, you can reach out to me through Canvas. And I know that I've corresponded with a couple of you. And for a couple of you that I haven't chatted with, I hope that you are well, and I hope everybody's as well as possible, and that you enjoy section 2. So good luck, and yeah, I look forward to continuing this philosophical journey with you all. Thanks.